Welcome to day 92 of 66 in 26. I don't know if you've done the math at all, but we are right at 1/4 of the way through all 66 books of the Bible in 2026. I know there's a long way to go still, but we've accomplished a lot of reading over 90 plus days. We have finished 7 books of the Bible, and we're well on our way to completing more. Today, we're beginning a new book. As we begin week 14, we're starting the book of Exodus. If you remember last week, we finished Genesis and we saw that we were left hanging a bit with the story of Genesis, in that Abraham had been promised by God descendants and land. And there were only a few descendants at this point, and there was no land because they were all in Egypt. Now, at the beginning of Exodus in chapter 1, we see that the people of Israel have expanded over many generations after the generation that came to Egypt had died and new generations rose up. Then we're told that they were numerous, that they were as numerous as the stars in the sky. So this is a way of saying that the descendants that God promised to Abraham had now come, but they are now enslaved in Egypt. Not only do they not have land, the land that God had promised Abraham, but now they're enslaved in another place under Pharaoh, a new Pharaoh that did not know Joseph, the one who had rescued Egypt and the people of Israel. And now we move into God introducing us to into a character, the story of Moses. Moses is going to be that man whom God uses to bring the people out of slavery in Egypt and to the promised land that God had promised to Abraham. We see Moses' miraculous salvation as an infant, and very much previewing Jesus in the future when he was rescued from the king who wanted to kill him also. Now Moses is spared from the king, Pharaoh, who wanted to take out the lives of all the newborn Israelite children. And so we see that beginning of Moses, and then Moses called by God when God appears in a burning bush that is on fire but not being consumed by the fire. And Moses so taken by that scene that he approaches, and God tells him to remove his sandals. He's on holy ground because the Lord God Almighty is there in his presence. And God directs Moses to go to Egypt and to be his spokesperson, to be the hands and feet of God in that place to bring his people out of slavery. We're going to see the miraculous works of God, the plagues and the demonstrations of God's power over the gods of Egypt and over Pharaoh. And we're going to get into that story that is the central story of the entire Old Testament, and that is the Exodus. That's in the chapters to come. In a couple weeks, we'll get to that point where we're reading about the Exodus story. For now, we're anticipating this central story of the Old Testament as we begin the book of Exodus.